Hello and welcome to Natural Balance, connection to your body, mind, and spirit. I'm your co-host, Mia Sines. And with me in this segment, you're going to get to meet someone very dear to me. Her name is Michelle Alva, and is she's really brilliant in the ways of women's health and pelvic floor and connection to body. And you can really feel from her that she absolutely loves this. I love that Michelle is a physical therapist and that she works on women, well, on men too, but specifically she nurtures your body. And so I'm going to have Michelle introduce herself a little bit more on the logistics of this. She's in Miami, and when I lived there, we used to have lunch. It was great. So welcome, Michelle. It's so good to see you.
Thank you, Mia. Thank you so much for having me. And hello, everyone. I'm so happy that everybody's taking the time to be here and get all this soul juicy stuff that we're going to talk about.
It's wonderful.
You want me to share a little bit more about myself here?
I do. You're so cute. Because your work is unique. You don't just do body work that helps people realign themselves or the muscular system or their skeletal structure, but you also work on the pelvic floor and the divine feminine and all that. So share with us a little bit about that.
What I feel the work that I do is so wonderful because it's very unique in the sense that the client actually learns how to have a direct connection to their body wisdom. And what I've discovered is that our intuition, our psychic knowingness, the knowingness of our soul is truly felt when we feel. The more we feel what's going on in our body, what our body's communicating with us, the more we can live from this place of clarity. And a lot of times it's hard to get there because there's so much baggage that we're holding from the past. Mm-hmm. So for example, for me, when I was 14, my first sexual experience was not consensual. And I didn't even know what sex was. My mom never talked to me about that. And I had a lot of trauma. I held a lot of shame and guilt, and I was walking around, I thought I was healthy, I thought I was spiritual, and I couldn't understand why I had pain during sex and why I was paranoid about men, and I was not able to be nice to my ex-husband because there was all this fear and unresolved self-hatred, self-anger that I didn't even get in touch with until after my divorce. So I was running on these programs from the past of a lot of woundedness, and nobody ever talked to me about that. Nobody ever told me that we could hold our issues and our tissues and our traumas literally in those tissues where we are taken advantage of or touched inappropriately. And I didn't know what I was doing consciously, and I wound up hurting people that I love. And I mean, I have to take full responsibility for that, right? So I learned that, in fact, there is a lot of programs that we're running on that we're not even aware of. So when we sabotage ourselves, when we hurt ourselves, and we don't understand why we're doing it, it's usually something that happened in your childhood that traumatized you, and we're doing the best we can. So I can't be quiet now because I never learned this in physical therapy school, and we learn about the vagina. We learn about the biomechanics of the pelvic floor as though it was a physical entity, a piece of meat that has no emotions and no energy, vibration, no frequency. We don't talk about that. And I'm not blaming my career as a physical therapist, the training. It's just we're very compartmentalized when we're learning things in the traditional way that it's being taught. The physical therapist goes to physical therapy school, learns about the biomechanics, kinesiology, neuroscience, all these things about the body. And then the psychologist goes over here and learns about the mind and behavior. The energy healer goes over here and learns about the chakra system. But I don't know where you go to learn about the integrated human being and how all of the parts affect the pain that we manifest in our body, and the relationship about how I feel about my vagina, how I feel about my past, the feeling, the relationship that I have to my past, how that impacts my present and the relationships I now form right now. And so I got very frustrated going to therapy after my divorce with my psychotherapist, and I went for a couple of years, and I just wasn't feeling that I was making the changes because I then was with someone new, and I still was doing the same type of abusive relating that was just a reflection of my own self-abusive relating to myself. And it wasn't until I took a shaman training actually, and the shaman training was all about dying yourself, dying your identity. And then I studied with Dr. Joe Dispenza. He literally has a book about,
It's great.
I forgot the actual name of it right this second, but it's about basically letting die who you think you are.
Right.
And the identity.
It's that release. It's that release. Yeah. Beautiful.
So all those things made me realize, well, where do we go to get this type of body work? And somato-emotional release is the closest thing I've discovered, craniosacral therapy. I'm trained in that also. However, when you have a craniosacral therapist working on your fascial system, and yes, we're supposed to listen to the body and allow the body to guide us. However, that person's laying there passively. They're laying there, and they're not necessarily learning how to connect to their intuition through their body in that moment. And I felt intuitively that the power lies within the person that is able to listen and feel and then know how to release themselves, rather than you have to come to me every week and get your somato-emotional release. You can actually release your own emotional fascial tightness yourself. And that's what I now have created, this approach that empowers the individual to be their own source of releasing, processing, embracing. And that's what wholeness is all about, healing is all about. And we can do so much more to ourselves than we're being led as a generalization. I'm just making that a generalization. There's people with chronic pain that have all these challenges every day that not enough we're being led to the place of, did you know that your mindset contributes to your pain? Did you know that you can release your own fascial tightness yourself with your breath, with your posturing, and just doing these 5 breaths a day and strengthening your ability to release yourself? So I say now that we're going to master the art of release. And I don't just mean release. You know, men kind of laugh and they're like, I know how to release myself.
Right.
This is about releasing your whole beingness and allowing yourself to process wherever you've had those stuck emotions. And people can go for energy healing, for example. You can do Reiki, you can have acupuncture. The chiropractor can also do releasing for you. What the work that I do is about really teaching people how to release themselves within themselves. And I've created something called the E3 breath. Then there's the E3 posture. And then there's these different steps of taking the client one step at a time through these processes that all of them coupled together create this global release in their whole beingness. And it really exposes you to the core of who you really are. And that's where I have to ask people, how committed are you to doing the deeper healing work? Because some of us aren't ready. And if they even get nervous at that question, then I will say, are you willing to invite a deeper connection with yourself? And I respect now wherever somebody is at. Before I was like, everybody needs to heal. Everybody needs to reconnect. And what I realized today is that everybody's perfect wherever they're at. And if they're seeking that deeper release, that deeper connection, I will work with you. However, I'm not responsible for you. You have to take responsibility for yourself so that the miracles can happen, because nobody can be the greatest healer for you other than yourself. So I've learned a lot from the work. And the more
I love this because I want to touch on what you said that's so important for everybody to realize. I've had therapy too, and I didn't have that shift of awareness, of consciousness, of change until the spiritual aspect came into it. And you hit on that. And I love that you did, because it's really true for most of the population, even though they don't understand it. Do you want to talk just briefly about that? How this holistic, spiritual, soulful essence. Yes.
Yeah, so the beautiful thing about me, I feel, is that I'm a physical therapist that is also a yoga junkie. So yoga in the sense of the philosophy of yoga. I started yoga when I was 18. My very first class, I had this little Bikram yoga teacher, little guy in his Speedo, and he's all sweaty and so excited. And I just was hooked on yoga. And I couldn't understand why I felt so good naturally, like never before. What was different about yoga was that it was all about the breathing. I was breathing into downward dog. I was breathing out into child's pose. I was integrating my breath and my movements, and my mind was there in whatever we were doing in the class. And so what I've come to understand is if you want to get spiritual, know your breath. Know how to breathe in life to the fullest. Take the deepest, fullest breath and feel the expansiveness of oxygen in your lungs, in your pelvis, in your arms. Get really know this knowing of your breathing and expanding yourself. And that causes all that oxygen, all that energy to pump into your system. And to me, that is when I commune with God the most, is when I'm with my breath. And, you know, there's all this talk about spirituality, all these different practices. And I find that that one exercise, the E3 breath, it makes me feel divine. It makes me feel holy, sacred, complete. And sometimes it causes me to cry. It causes me to have some emotions come through of maybe guilt or something that I was resenting, a memory. So it's a very healing.
It's a very releasing too.
Yeah, like I wish we had a church where everybody just breathes and communes with their divine breath. And the diaphragm, you know, the diaphragm muscle, when we increase the contraction of that muscle, we cause this inflating feeling of ourselves with all that oxygen. And the more we get to know ourselves there, that to me is the lightness that we feel. You know, when they say the person's enlightened being, if I'm expanding my breath, there's no way that I'm going to be contracted and tight in my shoulders. So this is where I created this posture, the E3 posture, and I can send you a link, Mia, to that breathing video.
Sure.
That the more, like when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I lay down and I make myself open, and the minute I wake up in my bed, I sniff, 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 and I expand, 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 and I say, thank you, God, for my life. I'm so excited to be alive. I'm so grateful I'm alive. And even when I'm sitting on the toilet, I do this, I sit.
You know, I have to tell you, sweetheart, there is something about opening up our breath in our body. I teach that same type of breath work in manifestation, because it centers us in that place of right here and now. So it really is the most amazing thing.
It's right under our nose. The solution is right under our nose. So the more I teach people this, it's so simple, the more my spirit guides, my spiritual guidance, my intuition, whatever you want to call it, tells me, Michelle, do less, teach them more. And then what I notice is that person releases pain that they've been holding for 12 years because they're commanding their own breath. They're in charge. And this is what I've noticed when I started to get in charge in my life, and I actually took more responsibility for my life because I was very nurtured by my ex-husband. I stopped working for like 4.5 years when my daughter was born, and I felt not as empowered because I wasn't making the money I was making. I was a full-time mom, and I feel like my identity was somehow, I know this happens for a lot of women where maybe professional women they become full-time moms. And so I tied in my identity a lot to being a physical therapist. And I feel like my breath gave me back my power and feeling my fullness of myself and not defining myself based on my roles that I was playing. I was just basing myself on the fullness, the expansion, the abundance. And if you're chronically stressed out and your shoulders are tense and your gut is really tense, you're feeling like this. So when you go into that expansive breathingness, you start to feel abundant. You start to feel wealthy and rich and opulent and fulfilled. And so now I feel if I'm going to teach somebody about healing wholeness, feeling fulfilled, we have to embody that in our body. And why not use the body as a doorway in? Talking about it, like I could talk about chocolate for hours, but if you don't put that dark chocolate in your mouth and taste it and smell it and really be with it, it doesn't have as much meaning. And so this healing work is a lot about try yourself on for size. How are you feeling? How's your vagina feeling? What's in there? You know, let's breathe into it. This is how you contract those muscles. This is how you can move the energy up your spine and get yourself more balanced and released. And people sometimes don't want to go there because somebody touched them in a hurtful way 20 years ago, and there's this trauma. And what this work does is it reconnects you. However, you also learn how to use those specific muscles in a way that is supported by the biomechanics. So the way that I teach breathing is all supported by biomechanics. Sometimes we learn things, for example, in a yoga class that might not be in alignment with the biomechanics of how we breathe. So that's, I think, what makes it even more delicious is that it's all in alignment with science and the science of breathing and
what you're
the
talking
biomechanics.
and what you're talking about is really the ancient form of yoga, because that is about the spirituality, about the breath. It's not just about the positions, right? It's it's really richer, and I love it because not very many people have taken that form of yoga. You know, gotten into it.
I learned yoga is a way of being. And when we're being united in the oneness of what we are, so for example, I am a mind that is thinking, right? I am a body that is here, but I'm also this vibrational being that is 99.9999% of what I really am. So it's really important, I feel, to remember the prana part of yoga, that we are energy. But see, for me, that meant nothing until I had a cathartic release of painful emotions, and it caused me to feel this tingling down my legs. This happened to me when I was 28 years old. I was in the tub, and I took a Mula Bandha class, a pelvic floor class of yoga, and it was all about squeezing your perineum for 3 hours. I was exhausted after that, and I went home. I felt very tall too, uplifting myself. And I took a bath, and I literally had a cathartic release of emotional pain of my past, of what happened to me when I was 14 years old, in the tub. And I had the memory of that trauma, that first trauma, that sexual trauma I was talking about. And I literally felt from my perineum, from my cervical area, tingling down my thighs, down my legs, down my vagina. And in that split second of feeling the tingling, I was in the tub, and I just had the memory of what happened to me, the trauma. And I started crying, and all these words were coming out like, you're a whore, you're a slut, I can't believe you did that. And then I just held myself as that was happening to me in the tub. I'm having this release of emotions. Right. And I told myself, no, you're not. You are not a slut. You did the best you could. And I did my breathing in that moment. I just felt like I needed to breathe deeply and help myself. And I cried, and that was the first time that I felt this tingling type of energy. And that's when I realized, oh my God, we are energy. It was a feeling in my body that I was studying yoga up until, from 18 to 24, but prana didn't mean anything to me. It was just something I learned.
Physically felt it, right?
Well, I thought to myself, is that kundalini? Is that prana? Is that energy? And that's when I realized the connection between energy, emotions, muscles, memory, and judging myself and shaming myself. And I've been really hard on myself most of my life, and that's what I learned. And I learned how it also keeps me back. It holds me back, and in the past, because I'm not doing that anymore. And I mean, mind you, it's a practice. I want to say that, but it's not 100%. It's definitely a practice.
Well, it's a practice, and then the more we do it, just like any athlete, the more we do that practice, the greater we become at it. And so it's also the mindset with it. I'm not allowing that crap talk in.
Yeah. So somebody told me, one of my therapists said, Michelle, it seems like you were really hard on yourself. You're only 14 years old when that happened. Can you go back and remember what you felt like as a 14-year-old? And I just started crying because I put a lot of expectation on myself, but I really didn't know any better, or else I would have ran, I would have screamed, I would have called the police, but I didn't do any of that. I just froze. And that became my MO.
That's because that was our upbringing, right? That was our mode of operation, our belief system. The same thing happened to me at 14, unconsensual sex. And I thought I had to marry this person because my mother said, if a man has the milk, he's not going to want to buy the cow. So I'm like, oh great, I'm ruined. I'm completely ruined. And
damaged goods.
And as we grow, we understand that's not true. And what's so important about what you just said about all of that is people who are watching this, they feel alone and they feel scared. And really, you and I are here to say, you're not. We've been through it too. You can get to the other side. That's what I love about your work. Would you like to share a little bit of a process? Can we go through an exercise?
Yes, yes.
Because we are
So,
running out of time, but
okay, yeah,
this is
there's
so good,
enough time.
juicy stuff.
So something that I discovered was it's not good enough to just do this breathing. It's not good enough to just do one thing. What I learned, like right now we're talking, but one of my eggs are being released right now. I'm digesting my lunch right now. I'm also getting rid of skin cells that I'm not
You're
using
talking
anymore.
about your reproductive eggs.
Yeah,
So
right,
things like
yes, my egg.
Yes.
Right now, so many things are happening in my body, okay? So that's normal for me. It's something that I know.
Right.
Healing is happening right now in my body. There's cancer cells in my body right now that my natural killer T4 cells are killing, okay? So what I realized was when we do one technique, the body actually, that's like not giving it the most bang for your buck. So what I do now is I have people combine therapeutic positioning with breathing, with intention, with sound, with leaning back into the divine support. Like when I do body work, the table's heated and it vibrates, and I use aromatherapy. So you're getting this multi-sensory experience.
I want a session.
Yeah. And the thing is, we can do it on the phone too. You don't have to be touched by me to help yourself because you're turning on yourself. However, when we integrate all these different techniques at once, we get this whoosh, this magical experience of the oneness. And for example, when you combine your intention with your breath, with your sounds. So right now I'm going to have you do a little bit of that. It's just a little bit of it. It's not the whole thing because it would take time to go into all the different processes. So I would invite everybody right now, if you can, just to lay down wherever you are or sit and lean back into your chair. So let's do that right now.
Yes.
And you're going to literally feel grateful for the support that you have right now. Because what I have found is that a lot of us do not feel supported. A lot of us have chronic low back pain, and a lot of it you can associate not just to your posture, but to not feeling supported. Maybe you didn't feel supported as a child. So here I am, I'm leaning back into the wall. So this is the very, very first thing, is to be grateful. To allow yourself right now to close your eyes, lean back, and feel grateful for who you are, feel grateful for your life, feel grateful for everything that's happened to you in your past. Are you willing to be grateful right now? Are you willing to invite gratefulness into your beingness? Yes. So you're just going to be grateful right now. I'm grateful I'm sitting right here. I'm supported. You're going to breathe that in. And you're going to lean back and surrender yourself to the divine support, the support of our Creator. Allow yourself right now to remember that you are created by our divine Creator, not just your parents. Someone, somewhere, something, a conductor said, I'm going to create a Mia Sayans. I'm going to create a Michelle Alva. And because you're alive, you're on purpose. You're here. So you're going to lean back into the divine support, the support of our Creator. And imagine how loved you must have been to have been created right now. You're just going to give yourself. It doesn't matter if your parents are married or they're divorced or if you were adopted or if you're an orphan. Because you're here, you matter. And you're just going to take a moment to feel that love. So are you willing to love yourself the way our Creator loves you?
Yes.
Deep breath in. Remember that for something to be created, there has to be this thought. So you have to be thought up into form for you to be there right now. And that, by that simple fact, you can be so grateful. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create extension, openness in the body so that we can receive more what we are, which is prana, energy, life force. So I invite you to bring your shoulders down and back, open up your chest. And ideally, you're doing this in the E3 posture. But for the phone call, let's just maximize it. You can bring your arms up over your head so you can expand yourself like that. And you're going to inhale, inhale, inhale.
I'm watching you now.
1, 2, 3. And then hold your breath. Hold your breath, expanded. Hold it. You're stretching yourself, going beyond what's comfortable. And then you're going to open your mouth and let it go. Ah. So
And I
ideally,
am going to practice this afterwards.
inhale, 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 and you could do it like this too.
The three.
Opening up, and then I have women and men open up their thighs, soles of the feet together, so you're totally stretching the fascia. If somebody touched you the wrong way, somebody broke your heart, or you feel you hurt someone, the heart tenses up, it becomes a knot. If you don't like your thighs, your body doesn't feel peaceful because you don't accept it. So a lot of us are walking around with the heart contracted. So this breathing, when you stretch your arm, you do... It's stretching, stretching, stretching the fascia, so eventually it unwinds itself. And that's the key to this process, but there's 3 phases to the breath to get you to maximize your stretching. So then we're releasing, and they say that we hold the emotions in the fascia. So when the fascia releases, people cry.
Comes out. So does
it evaporates.
When we work on our fascia, also our our
memories,
our hormones and our memories, everything comes out. So
yes, so it's like a fart. I say it's a healing fart. You know how sometimes we have just gotta release that.
Fart. Okay.
Yeah, because we get a fart of emotions. Right. People are like, oh my God, there goes my shame, there goes my guilt, and that's when I call this healing at the speed of light, because once it's gone, it's not weighing you down anymore. I think what's the hardest is did you like that transition? Gratitude, divine support, breathing.
In fact, I would like to say that everybody who's watching this, take this and record on your, in your journal, exactly where Michelle starts on this, and do a challenge for yourself. Remember, it takes, these say 21 days, it takes 40 to 45 days for a practice. So do this 3 times a day. Set your iPhones
in the toilet. Remember, I told you when you go to the bathroom, that's what I do.
Yeah, that's what you did tell me.
As I walk to the bathroom, I'm already thinking, what am I grateful for? As I walk to my bathroom, because I've programmed myself, bathroom time for me, when I'm peeing, when I'm pooping, I'm looking up and I'm giving thanks, and I'm choosing to think about things I'm grateful for, because gratitude is so powerful.
So you guys do this and set your timers for 3 times a day for 40 days, and write Michelle or write me so I can send it to her, and let us know the change and the effect that this has had on you, because it's really very, very powerful.
And it doesn't take much time for this, actually, Mia, because you're so powerful. That's the thing. Let's not limit our beliefs at all. And my email is michelle@michellealva.com. I love to hear about...
It's also at the end of this video. So that
awesome. Yeah. Because you'll blow yourself away. This is the thing, how you feel so empowered. You're like, oh my God, I'm so amazing. And that's what I feel we're missing as a generalization in school. As little kids, we're not told, hey, did you know that you're the most powerful healer for yourself? Did you know?
What Michelle just is saying is, I've been practicing this with my clients. You put yourself in that magnificence, that brilliance. When you accept that about yourself, you catapult forward that much faster. It's like quantum physics. You move at a rapid space. So listen to it and do it that way. Now, Michelle, we're running out of time. I want to hear about your free gift that you have for everybody.
Well, for everybody, you get to experience, if you want to strengthen your sense of empowerment and will, I created this forgiveness meditation. And it is all about letting go, because I feel that's a hard thing for a lot of us, is to let go. So you're guided in this beautiful forgiveness meditation. And it has live music by David Kennett, which is beautiful. His voice is very ethereal. So it's this beautiful compilation of really, truly embodying forgiveness in every cell of your being. Not just saying, I forgave, but like really being in your body. So you're guided into your body, wherever you're feeling the hurtness.
And you know what's interesting, everybody? David Kennett, I have him on my CD under
Wow, look at that.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
I mean, it's just amazing. Aww. So listen to what she's saying. It's good. Awesome,
we're so connected.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience from your heart right now before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's interested in working with me, I offer a 15-minute discovery session. If anything sparked your interest, and definitely make sure to share this content that you hear in all these interviews. Don't just keep it to yourself, because it's so beautiful to share and learn together and grow together. So I'm here to serve, and I just invite people to check out my website. There's also this Soulfish Women's movement that I've created, And it's about women saying yes to honoring their heart and soul and living from their intuitive guidance. And the way to do that is to connect to your body. So I teach people that, and in the way that I have learned it. And just shoot me an email, let's start a conversation. You're never alone. You're not alone. And Mia is here. I'm here. We've got the sisterhood going on. And let's just all rise together. This is really what it's about.
And if you're a brother watching this supports
I love you too. Yes.
Because our womb, our second chakra, our womb, men have them too. That space of creation. Just because we have babies and birth and all that, and it's beautiful. We are magnificent. More powerful.
And I have the Soulfish tribe for men and women too. I have a separate one just for the women, and then one for the men and women.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
And all the information's at the end of this. And so
thank you so much.
It was so lovely to have you, Michelle.
Thank you, Mia. Thank you. Let us know how you benefit from all this wonderful stuff in the bathroom too.
Okay. Exactly. Everyone
it works.
Beautiful day. Yes.
Thank you, Mia.
Michelle in the bathroom talk. I love it.
Have fun.